Hi, Luke here. On September 13th, 1985, Nintendo of Japan released Super Mario Bros. On the Famicom, aka the NES. Us Brits didn't get it until a few years later, but that game revolutionised console platformers at the time. Mario was previously known in Donkey Kong and Mario Bros. In the arcades, but this is where you get a proper platforming adventure involving a mustachioed plumber travelling colourful worlds and dark underground realms to rescue a princess from a fire-breathing monster. This game cemented Mario as a huge video game mascot with many friends like Luigi and Yoshi and enemies like Bowser and Wario. This year marks the 40th anniversary of the franchise, spanning cartoons, spin-offs, toys and 2 movies, 3 if you count the OVA, with another one well on the way. I want to make this video to talk about my personal history with Mario, as even though the Sonic Dissected series depicted me as a Sonic fan, in reality I'm actually a Nintendo and Mario fanboy. When I grew up in the 90s during the 16-bit console war, I was always on Team Mario. Mario holds a special place in my heart and I grew up with him. I guess unlike most video game heroes, you're just a guy in red and blue overalls with a silly moustache. The worlds he explores are magical and the music is simply unforgettable. I'll only cover the Mario platformers cause if I talk about the spin-offs like Mario Kart, Luigi's Mansion, the Wario Land and WarioWare games, etc., this video will take forever. It's hard to remember my earliest memory of Mario. I never owned a Nintendo console until the late 90s. I used to beg my parents all the time for an NES or an N64, but they were seen as an expensive luxury. I think my earliest memory might be the animated series, the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. I remember the title sequence with 2 plumbers going to another world via a drain and then saving Princess Toadstool and Toad from the evil King Koopa. I think I also saw the live action sequences as well. Who'd have thought that Mario was 80s wrestler Captain Lou Albano? I do remember owning a VHS tape with about 3 episodes. Mario of the Apes where Mario becomes Tarzan or Marzan, Brooklyn Bound where the brothers might have a chance to get home in the Arctic with the help of Salvador Drain Otto, and Koopzilla where Mario meets Koopzilla and they have a kaiju fight after eating special sushi. I also have a few episodes on another VHS tape which parodied Romeo and Juliet and where they explore an underwater wreck. I remember being confused when watching the adventures of Mario Bros. 3, as I was wondering what happened to the second Mario Bros. Series. I didn't know that the Super Show combined elements of Mario Bros. 1 and 2. This series is fully set in the Mushroom Kingdom, and what's interesting is that in the Super Show, the brothers are trying to get back to Brooklyn, and here they can now freely travel between the Mushroom Kingdom and the real world. I used to tape episodes on a VHS and created my own cover on it. I remember how epic Koopa's Doom ship looked, as it was like seeing Darth Vader's Super Star Destroyer, along with the theme that's akin to the Imperial March. This series also gave us the Raccoon power-up, and yeah, this was the series with the most awkward episode, where Princess Toadstool and Cootie Pie, Wendy-O Koopa, are huge fans of Milli Vanilli. But despite its odd moments, this was my fave of the 3 Mario cartoons. I do remember the Super Mario World cartoon as well, but not so much. It wasn't until I saw YTP episodes of the series in the late 2000s that I remember it. I do like how it uses a lot of musical references from the games. Yoshi is pretty cute, and Oogtar was what replaced Toad, and he's pretty annoying. Also, the Koopa sung musical numbers are pretty weird. I do remember owning some Mario merch, like a sliding puzzle on a toy can showing images of Mario and various enemies, which was a gift from my grandma, and I had a Mario colouring book on my family holiday to York in 1992. It pretty much plays out like a story, and surprisingly it has an image of King Toadstool. I remember having my brother film me do a one-man show of Super Mario Bros., which made me look like a psycho. I guess I could talk about the infamous live-action Mario Bros. Movie that I saw with my dad in 1993. I didn't expect it to be so scary and gritty, set in a dystopian alternate universe. The setting and ideas are interesting, but it is a shame they had it tied to Super Mario Bros. Bear in mind, my only knowledge of Super Mario Bros. At the time was from the cartoons. I did find it odd that Luigi was clean-shaven and King Koopa had a human form, so I thought it was like an origin story in how he turned into a monster. I remember being terrified when he jumps out at the end, as well as the woman turning into a skeleton. The portal sequence was really trippy as well. It was an interesting, dark and strange take on Mario, but yeah, this is not Mario. Apart from Mario himself, played by Bob Hoskins. I did manage to play Mario games before I actually owned one. Back in the 90s, places like my local kebab shop had arcade cabinets with various games on them, known as a Play Choice 10. I remember seeing an arcade version of Super Mario Bros. 2 in Princess Toadstool going up a waterfall on logs. I also went round a school friend's house who had an NES with Super Mario Bros. I only remember playing it very briefly and was confused why I fell through the floor when I died. This might be my first experience of seeing a platforming character being booted off the stage. And remember when stores had kiosks where you could try out the latest games? I used to go to Argos a lot as a kid to play them. I better explain what Argos is. Unlike most stores where you pick up an item and take them to a checkout, you select what you want in a catalogue, give the checkout the code, if it's in stock, and then wait at a counter while someone goes and fetches said item from the warehouse. Anyway, one game I remember playing at a kiosk at Argos is Mario 64. I thought it was cool seeing Mario in full 3D running around a huge castle and jump into paintings that take you to other worlds. I only briefly played Cool Cool Mountain and I tried to get into the little house, only to slide down the slope. Now, I did talk about my early experiences with Mario games on the Game Boy in the Dissected video and eulogy to handheld spin-offs, but I don't mind talking again about them and in more depth. The year was 1998. I was on a school trip to the Natural History Museum in London, and a friend sitting next to me on the coach had with him Kirby's Dream Land on the Game Boy. I got to have a go and had so much fun with it. That's when I decided it was time to get one for myself. So after my 12th birthday, I went to Argos with my birthday money and obtained an original Game Boy with Super Mario Land 1 and 2 that came with this travel case. I tried out Super Mario Land first, which was my very first Mario game. The game takes place in Sarasa Land, not the Mushroom Kingdom, and you have to rescue Princess Daisy. Now, as a kid, I thought Peach and Daisy were the same princess, as the cover and manual made her look exactly like Peach, and I thought Sarasa Land was like her holiday home or something. The movie also made that mistake too by naming Princess Toadstool Daisy. I like how all the levels are based on locations around the world, like Egypt, Easter Island and Japan. I think the second world was based on the Bermuda Triangle, but I went with the idea that it's set in Atlantis. I do like how you control a submarine and the plane in some levels, and I still remember the overworld theme and the bosses making sounds like a sheep as you hit them. One thing I didn't like about the game as a kid was that it was very difficult, so you could die very easily and the game doesn't save. So when it's game over, you have to start from the very beginning, or you had enough points for a continue. It's what games were back then. The game itself is quite short with 12 levels, so they would have to make it difficult. Also, the tiny sprite on a monochromatic screen that becomes blurry as you move does make it hard to see. It took me a very long time, but I did finally beat it, as of last year. You see, I have the game on the 3DS and I played it on the Switch's Game Boy Online service and I got to beat it. So I applied it to my original copy of the game and I've managed to beat it. The key is to get as many lives as possible, allowing you to try difficult areas over and over until you've beaten it. Remember where all the secret pipes are that have rooms full of coins, and always go for the top exit so you can nab more lives in the bonus game. All in all, this is a great classic game and a great way of how they can create a handheld spin-off of a video game legend. But it was its sequel that I enjoyed more, Super Mario Land 2 6 Golden Coins. I remember the advert showing Wario's ugly face saying, "Obey Wario, destroy Mario," whilst green goo dribbles from his mouth. I think I was really terrified of him. Mario Land 2 was an absolute marvel. Great visuals, amazing music, you can go anywhere and you can save. I enjoyed using the bunny ears so you can platform jump more easily, and of course it can be pretty tough. You can select easy mode by pressing select on the file select screen. It's interesting you can choose any area you like, and Wario's castle was really hard as well. I think Mario Land 2 has one of my favourite final boss fights. Wario is basically evil Mario, and he can use the same power-ups and abilities against you, including Bunny Wario and Fire Wario. I really like boss fights where you fight an evil version of yourself, especially if it's the final boss like Dark Link in Zelda 2, or the SAX and Dark Samus in the Metroid games. Also, I think this was the very first video game I remember beating and seeing the credits roll as Wario's castle transforms back into Mario's castle. Now, the Mario Land series did continue with the Wario Land games as Wario Land is Mario Land 3, but that's a totally different series altogether. Now, believe it or not, I got to experience Mario on PC in September of 1998 when we had our first Windows PC with Windows 98. Our local library used to rent out CD-ROMs ranging from educational games as well as action games, so I picked up Mario is Missing, showing Luigi looking around for Mario in a castle. I never really expected it to be an educational game learning about historic landmarks, but I had fun with it, especially when you get to go around riding Yoshi. When I played the game, it had no sound and my mouse kept freezing up. Also, I think this was where the Ouija meme originated from. I then later rented another Mario CD-ROM, Mario's Time Machine, which yet again was another educational game, but learning about history. I do like games that teaches you about history. I once rented out Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego. You basically have to return items to certain historical figures. This game does have sound, but the music was really loud in the intro, and I couldn't hear what the characters were saying. But I do remember Mario saying in a robotic tone, "Here, have an apple," to Sir Isaac Newton. I remember surfing the Sea of Time, collecting mushrooms and crashing into mines. One final thing about Mario in '98 is that my mum knitted me a jumper for Christmas with Mario on it. I didn't play another Mario game until 2000. I was in Toys R Us picking up a copy of Pokemon Blue and a link cable for my 14th birthday, and saw that they were selling N64s for £100. For years I tried to save up for one, and trying to get over £100 was hard. So after my birthday I went to Index, which is exactly the same as Argos, it's not around anymore, with my birthday money, and picked up an N64 with Super Mario 64, my very first main console, not counting the TV Boy I had for Christmas in '97. Playing this game was like a whole new experience, right from the very start when you hear, "It's a me, Mario," and you see his mug on the screen whilst the main theme is playing. It's awesome you can distort and pull his rubbery face so you can make a lot of silly faces. Whenever I get out my N64 these days, I would always test a console or even a new TV to see if it still works by putting on Mario 64 to test it out. This game was pretty revolutionary for Nintendo, showcasing what 3D graphics could do and how it changed 3D platforming. I have played 3D free-roaming platformers before, like a Bug's Life PC game, but this is where you can do so much more. You can triple jump, climb up trees, swim in the moat, wall jump, butt stomp, and crawl around like a baby. This turned Mario into some kind of parkouring ninja. Every area was like a playground where you could do whatever you want. This was also one of the earliest Mario games voiced by Charles Martinet, so it was awesome hearing him cheer, jump for joy, get hurt, and scream in pain as his arse catches fire. I know that people were rather dismissive of the weirdly shaped N64 controller, but I thought it was pretty cool, like some kind of starship, and it has a thumbstick so you can make Mario go in all sorts of directions, rather than the 4 directions that old controller pads have. I did like how huge and immersive the worlds and levels are, as it was like levels within a level. The main hub is Peach's castle, which you can explore and jump into paintings that go to different worlds. Also, it was mission based, where you had to do certain things to collect stars. I remember the catchy tune of Bob on Battlefield and the calming tune of Dire Dire Docks, which sounds a bit similar to Time After Time by Cyndi Lauper. And of course I was jump scared by the ravenous piano. Future 3D platformers like Banjo-Kazooie might be seen as a clone of Mario 64, but I see it as an improved version, especially if you compare the giant snowmen from Snowman's Land and Freezeezy Peak. The power-ups were new and fun as well. The metal cap was really cool as it made you look like the T-1000 with its robotic theme, to the awesome wing cap making you fly and soar over the levels. I remember the first encounter with Bowser and was a bit sad thinking this game was going to be pretty short. But no, this is just my first fight or the first round with Bowser, and you would have to face him a few more times throughout the game. Usually you would only meet the game's main antagonist at the very end of a game, so having to fight this guy in multiple encounters does develop some sort of rivalry until you defeat him in the final showdown for good. It could also be a bit hard as well, trying to find all the stars as well as 100 coins. I think I threw my controller once in a fit of rage. It's okay, nothing got damaged. Another thing I did with Mario 64 is that I would play music CDs in my CD player in an attempt to change the background music. I did this with my CD-ROM of Sonic CD Flicky's Island, which had some epic tunes. Imagine Cool Cool Mountain with Diamond Dust music, or Bowser in the Fire Sea with Volcano Valley music. Before the Mario Galaxy games, I will always cherish this as one of my all-time favourite Mario games, with beautiful music and amazing worlds to explore. This took the Portly Plumber in a totally brand new direction. I did eventually get to play a version of the original Super Mario Bros. After Christmas 2000, where I used my Christmas money to pick up Mario Bros. DX on the Game Boy Color. This was the first time that the NES game was ported to a Nintendo handheld. So no, it never got ported to the Game Boy in the early 90s, as it was shown in Transformers Rise of the Beasts. Also, none of the Game Boy Mario platformers at the time had Bowser as a boss either. It's just as bad as it was in Thor the Dark World, when a woman on a train tells Thor he can get to Greenwich from Charing Cross in just a few stops. Do none of these people do any research? Sorry. I did find the game really fun with all the musical references and the power-ups. They include a few extra game modes like finding red coins, racing a boo, and pictures you can print off with your Game Boy printer if you have one. The game also had level maps and you can save your progress. It was interesting to see how this game laid the groundwork for many of its popular sequels. Also, this game took me years to beat, as on the final level I couldn't get past this one Hammer Bros before Bowser, but I eventually beaten him. This game also has some hidden level skips if you know where the secret warp pipes are. In the early 2000s I did try to dabble with emulation, trying out NES ROMs on Nestron. One of these ROMs was Mario Bros 2, as in Mario Bros US. I like how each character has different abilities and has a lot of secrets. It can get pretty scary trying to get the key from Phanto. I wasn't really a fan of this one, mainly due to its stun and throw gimmick, where instead of jumping on enemies to defeat them, you can stun and throw them, or pull up vegetables to use as projectiles. It is a unique idea, but it wasn't for me. I did find out that the whole game was a reskin of the Japanese game Doki Doki Literature Club. Doki Doki Panic. It was very surprising what the ending was. I also remember when playing Smash Bros. Melee it had Subcon as an unlockable stage. My first memory of Super Mario Sunshine was when I was reading about the GameCube Space World presentation in Nintendo Official Magazine, which was sort of the UK's equivalent of Nintendo Power. I thought the screenshots of the upcoming new Mario looked amazing, a huge leap in graphics and lighting from what we saw in Mario 64. After Christmas 2002, I went to get my GameCube with my Christmas money, but I couldn't decide whether my game with it should be Mario Sunshine or Star Fox Adventures. I thought about getting Star Fox Adventures as I was watching Dinotopia at the time. There's a show you can look into, Melting Man 234. But I saw you can get GameCubes with Mario Sunshine bundled in, so I picked that up. Now this game really showed what the GameCube was capable of, with its beautiful graphics, impressive lighting effects and its main use of water physics. The main gimmick of this game is that they limited Mario's moveset and gave him a water tank to spray water on enemies and wash off paint. I guess this might have predated Power Wash Simulator. It also has a completely new setting with Mario and friends going on holiday to Aldolfino, enjoying a lovely sunny town, beaches and a fairground. No Mushroom Kingdom stuff to be found here. I do find it interesting that Nintendo took their IPs during the GameCube era in unique new directions and becoming more experimental with them, like what they did with Mario in Sunshine, turning Zelda into a sailing adventure, and having two racers share a kart in Mario Kart Double Dash. This game also introduced Bowser Jr., who is Bowser's actual son. Yeah, the cartoons also made the Koopalings King Koopa's kids. He's been busy. This game is also probably one of the hardest Mario games I ever played, so it can get pretty frustrating at times, especially the floodless stages where Shadow Mario steals your flood, making you do challenges with a limited moveset. There's also the infamous red coin stages on the Sandbird and the Pachinko machine. Some bosses can be pretty hard too, like the Manta Ray Shadow boss and fighting Mecha Bowser on the roller coaster. I don't think I've gotten all the shines, but I do like what you could do with the flood, and in a way it's like going on a virtual holiday. I also like how you get to ride Yoshi, which I think is a first in a 3D Mario platformer. I did enjoy this game with how visually impressive it was, but I do prefer the standard platforming and worlds you find in Mario 64. I wasn't fond of the difficulty either. Also, this was one of the first Mario games to have fully voiced cutscenes. It was also the first time you get to hear Bowser talk normally in the game, and yeah, I was pretty disappointed how they just gave him a generic dad voice like Homer Simpson.
Mario! How dare you disturb my family vacation?
I remember hearing it and thought, I could do a better Bowser voice than that. And I did in Bowser's Evil Plan by Evil Doc.
What? I hate plumbers! Enough, Koopa Troopa Pete! You can't deny the perfections! How dare you say such a thing? Damn you, Pete! I'm sick of you!
Before we continue, I'd like to give a shout out to this video's sponsor, Raid. That's it, it's just a can of Raid. And if you put in the code Luke on their website, you get nothing, as this is not a real sponsor. Then in late 2003, I picked up Mario Bros. 3, aka Mario Advance 4 for the GBA. It is pretty strange to think that the Game Boy Color and the Game Boy Advance are the only Nintendo consoles not to have an original Mario platformer, not counting the Virtual Boy, and that had a Wario Land game. Instead, they took the Mario platformers from the NES and SNES and re-released them with enhanced visuals and audio. I actually didn't mind this at the time. Sure, Nintendo would re-release them over and over, but back then they hardly ever do so. I missed out on the NES and the SNES, so with the GBA I had the opportunity to experience them, but I settled with Mario Bros. 3 as it made me think of the cartoon. I do regard this game as my fave of the classic Mario platformers, as is like an enhanced version of the first game. You got themed worlds, an overworld map with different things to go and do, and you could switch between Mario and Luigi. You could store power-ups for later, as well as new power-ups like Frog Mario and Raccoon Mario. Also, like experiencing summer in the UK, the sun wants you dead. Storming the airships is a fun experience, and I like how the final world is basically Mordor, with grisly hands dragging you down into the underworld. Also, this game has one of the easiest boss fights I ever experienced. You just make Bowser smash through the floor. That's it. I had a fun time with this game, and made me think of the days when I would watch the cartoon. In 2006 I picked up a DS Lite, with New Super Mario Bros. As my first game. Yeah, that title is a bit dated now by today's standards. This was the first time you get to see full 3D graphics on Nintendo Handheld. It also had new power-ups like making Mario all teeny tiny to get into small spaces, or a gigantic Titan-sized Mario smashing through everything. It was fun, but I dunno, I hardly had any fond memories of it. Maybe the Mario Bros. Formula was starting to get a bit stale by that point. They tried to shake things up a bit in its sequels with co-op, adding new characters, as well as new power-ups, but it kind of felt a bit generic. I did take interest in New Super Mario Bros. Wii though, more on that later. Oh yeah, the bit where Bowser turns into dry Bowser as he flails around in lava is rather horrifying. In 2007 I picked up my Nintendo Wii. Apart from the new motion controls, I mainly got it so I could play Zelda Twilight Princess and the Virtual Console, where you could download any past Nintendo console game. So I downloaded Paper Mario and Super Mario World. I could see why it was regarded as one of the best Mario games at the time and one of the best SNES titles. The world is so much bigger, has some great music and quite visually impressive as well. Similar to Raccoon Mario, you got the Feather Cape power-up and a balloon to make you swell up. I mostly knew about Mario World from the cartoon in YTPs, so hearing the musical themes makes it all the more familiar.
That's Mama Luigi to you, Mario!
The main highlight of the game is riding Yoshi, so it was great when you find a Yoshi egg and ride around with him, eating up enemies, spitting fireballs, and using his flutter jump to make difficult jumps and reach high places. I know a lot of us would let poor Yoshi fall to his doom. It also has a lot of secrets with hidden exits and finding the extra hard Star Road. The Boo houses were quite scary as well, hoping the boos don't get ya. I also like the little things like Koopa Troopers being knocked out of their shells ending up in their underwear. I did enjoy this game, but I prefer Mario Bros 3 more. Also, this has the most difficult Bowser boss fight I've ever faced in a 2D Mario game. You have Bowser flying around in his clown car. You would think he's ripping off Dr. Robotnik's Eggmobile, but the game came out in 1990s, so Robotnik might have ripped off Bowser. To beat him, you have to jump on the little Koopa robots and throw them back at him. I'm usually not a fan of this mechanic in boss fights, as you have to aim your throws perfectly. It was pretty much a test of your skills, as throwing them too high and they'll fly over him, and throwing them too low and they'll bounce off the clown car. Also, there's the giant balls you have to jump over, and you have to hit him 6 times. If you manage to beat him in one go, you have my honour and respect. I found it so frustrating and could never do it. I did beat him eventually on the Switch Online service using save states. I'm sure I could beat him legit one day. Up until 2008, Super Mario 64 was my all-time favourite 3D Mario game. Then Super Mario Galaxy came along. I picked it up that year, and it became not only one of my favourite Mario games, but one of the best Wii games ever. Enhanced visuals, epic orchestral music, a new way to control Mario with the Wiimote making him run around 3D planetoid spheres, and having gravity-defying platforming which takes the genre to a new level. The worlds are absolutely beautiful and the music is simply unforgettable from Gusty Garden to the Battle Rock Galaxy. The music in Boy Base Galaxy? Absolutely the best. The new power-ups are interesting, like turning Mario into a spring, a bumblebee or even a boo. You're even introduced to a new princess, Rosalina, who is practically the Mario equivalent of God. Some of the star challenges can be pretty tough as well, especially the purple coin challenges on NES Mario sprites. Oh yeah, I love the beginning, which is a homage to the castle grounds from Mario 64, except you are now running towards the castle as the kingdom gets carpet bombed by Bowser. If you ever get a Wii, I highly recommend this game or the re-released HD editions on the Switch. I think I got most of the stars. In 2009, I picked up New Super Mario Bros. Wii, which was okay, and I did find it enjoyable. I like the multiplayer aspect where you can play as Mario, Luigi and 2 different Toads, and it is better to play with friends due to all the chaos you can create. The propeller hat was fun, and I really liked the final boss, where Bowser is transformed to gargantuan size and chases you as epic music starts playing. I do find a few cons about the new Super Mario Bros. Series from Wii onwards, and I have found them rather generic and sort of the same. The graphics kinda have that iOS feel to it, similar to that of Sonic the Hedgehog 4, as well as the gimmick of adding a new animal power-up in each game. I skipped New Super Mario Bros. 2 on the 3DS as it was pretty much the DS game but gold. It should have been Wario's game as he loves gold, as well as New Super Mario Bros. U, Luigi U and UDX. I do find it funny how DX created the Peach Crown Bowsette trend, where a crown could turn a Toadette into a version of Peach, so anyone could turn into a hot female blonde. Even me in this pic made by my good friend Godfaroth. Then in 2010 we got an amazing sequel to Mario Galaxy, Mario Galaxy 2. I think this is the first time we had 2 Mario 3D platformers on the same system. I got a version of Galaxy 2 where not only do you get a foldout showing the controls, but a DVD video that also shows you the controls, and it shows you the controls in the game as well, so it's impossible not to know how to play the game. You can tell they wanted to do more with Mario Galaxy, so they made this game with new galaxies and power-ups, including the ability to ride Yoshi, who has his own variants. I remember being so addicted to this game and played it for hours. Unlike the first game with a hub set in the observatory, it's done in the overworld style of traditional Mario platformers, where you control your own planetoid starship shaped like Mario's head, with someone who isn't Patrick Star as your helmsman. You go to different sectors and go through a path with various galaxies and systems. They also got the Koopa Air Fleet done to some pretty epic music. I think I got all the stars, but I could never beat the true final stage as it was hard as balls. Also, I didn't like how you got this Luma sidekick who claims to be a prince or something, and then he goes and nicks Mario's cap. That should be a criminal offence or something. If that bleeder steals my hat, I'll beat the shit out of him. Also, if you play as Luigi, he goes and steals his hat as well. As for which is better, it's very difficult as they're both amazing and pretty much the same game, so I would have to say both of them. It's like saying whether Sonic 3 or Sonic and Knuckles is better, so it's best to combine them into one game and say both. Funnily enough, I picked up the Mario Bros. All-Stars collection for the Wii, celebrating the franchise's 25th anniversary, which also came with a Mario soundtrack CD and a booklet. Don't think I actually played it to be honest, so it's just a collector's item. I think people were disappointed with it as it didn't come with Super Mario World. I didn't play any new Mario platformers until 2015. When the Wii U came out, I was anticipating what the next big Mario platformer will be. How can they top the Mario Galaxy games? Then Mario 3D World was revealed, and I was a bit disappointed as it's basically new Super Mario Bros. But in a 3D environment. I do like the reference to Mario Bros. 2 where you can play as Mario, Luigi, Toad and Peach. And of course the new animal costume gimmick is the Cat Mario suit. I remember the Cat Mario show where you have puppet versions of Cat Mario and Cat Peach talking like chipmunks about certain Mario games. The Miiverse community was a nice touch as you get to read people's thoughts about the levels as well as hidden tips and tricks. I didn't have a Wii U at the time and sadly this game wasn't enough to convince me to get one. For Christmas 2014 I got Super Mario 3D Land for the 3DS, which I think is a great new handheld spin-off for Mario since Super Mario Land 2, and really showed off the console's 3D capabilities. With the 3D on you can see how depth perception is used, which is necessary to find the secrets, especially in first person mode. I was also impressed with the updated graphics on the console as well. It was sort of like little 3D dioramas that you could explore. I didn't complete the true final stage as that was pretty difficult. Even though I had a Wii U by 2014 for Mario Kart 8, I passed up on Mario 3D World. However, to celebrate the series' 30th anniversary in 2015, Nintendo released Super Mario Maker, which I preferred, where you can make your own Super Mario levels. I recall seeing so many fan levels for Mario games and infamous Kaizo traps, which are fan levels that are extremely tough. So it's great that you can make your own levels using assets from Mario Bros. NES, Mario Bros. 3, Mario World and New Super Mario Bros. What makes this amazing is you could download levels from other people including YouTubers, so you can have endless levels to play with, and if you have certain amiibos, you can get special skins that turn you into sprite versions of certain Nintendo characters. I recall also being impressed with the music making levels. With the levels I made levels based on the first world of Super Mario Land, Castle Rooftops, a level where you destroy a peaceful town of Goombas and rob a bank, as well as attempting to recreate the beginning of Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I did use a lot of piranha plants to make it harder. This was one of my favourite games on the Wii U, which inspired a lot of creativity as well as learning level design in video games. Also, even though Miiverse has shut down, the fan art posts have been preserved in YouTube videos. I haven't got Mario Maker 2 yet. Maybe it doesn't feel as impactful and as huge as the first game was, and it might not have a community as big as it was, but I will give it a shot one day. 2017 was when the Nintendo Switch came out, and one of its big games for it was Super Mario Odyssey. This was the successor to Mario Galaxy that I was waiting for, where you could fully explore an open world, and instead of it being separated by chapters or missions, you could find the land's moons as you go along. The worlds are also done like mini-hubs that make me think of Super Mario Land, with Mario travelling all over the world, like a desert with pyramids and talking heads, a sprawling city inspired by New York, a beautiful beach, and even a lost valley of the dinosaurs. But its main gimmick is Mario's cap, which you can throw and jump on, like a Nintendo version of Oddjob, and it's possessed by a companion named Cappy, where if you throw it on something or someone, you can possess it. So you can have a Mario version of a T-Rex, or a Mario car, or a Mario version of Bowser's enemies. The controls were great, so you could do some pretty impressive platforming with Mario, especially that jump rope challenge, which was a pain. There's even costumes, so you can make Mario a pirate, Scatman, a cowboy, or even a creepy clown. I bought my Switch and this game at the beginning of 2018, so when the Beast from the East hit the UK in February, I really felt the cold when I was exploring the Arctic area. I even tried out the game at the London Comic Con in late 2017 and thought it was a great experience. I even cosplayed as Mario to celebrate its release and put googly eyes on my cap to turn it into Cappy. This is an amazing and beautiful Mario game, and I highly recommend it for anyone who owns a Switch. In 2020, to celebrate 35 years of Mario, Nintendo released Super Mario 35, where you and 34 other players compete to see who survives the longest. Like the 99 games, you need to use strategy to send enemies to other players, and they can do the same to you. I think I even won a few times. Then Nintendo shut the servers down. They didn't even re-release it as Super Mario 99. Utter bastards! Even though I skipped Mario 3D World on the Wii U, it got re-released for the Switch in 2021 with a new side game called Bowser's Fury, which was a new mini Mario 3D platformer set in one huge hub with mini islands on an ocean. You get to team up with Bowser Jr. as his dad has got taken over by what looks like the Venom symbiote and became a massive demonic monster that's on the same scale as Giga Bowser from Smash Bros. It was rather fun going around doing these mini missions in the hub, and you even get to play with cute kittens, as well as throwing them off a ledge and jumping on their heads if you're a sadistic bastard. Every so often, Fury Bowser appears, the skies get dark, then rain and lightning appear throwing goo and fire at you. So how do you beat him? By using these special bells to turn Cat Mario into Giga Super Saiyan Cat Mario to kick his ass. So yeah. It's pretty much like the Coopzilla episode with kaiju versions of Mario and Bowser, or better yet, a Mario version of the final battle between Super Sonic and Perfect Chaos in Sonic Adventure. You could imagine Open Your Heart playing as you take on Fury Bowser. It's pretty funny when you become regular Mario and imagine how he could take on a demonic entity. The photo mode is amazing in this, as well as in Mario Odyssey, as you can take some impressive shots with Fury Bowser. So yeah, I was very impressed with this game, and even though it's small, it gives us an idea of what 3D Mario games might be like in the future. After playing Mario Odyssey as a Switch's big 3D Mario game, 3D World is not too bad. It is like 3D Land, where you go around these dioramas and levels with Mario and his friends. If you have friends round, it can be fun to play with. I played it with my nephew on his Switch, and it can get pretty hectic with the power-ups. You also get these neat challenges as well on the map. I really enjoyed the Captain Toad stages, which have been used in a full game spin-off. The music was great too, especially Bowser's Casino Palace theme, which sounds like something you would hear in a Wario game. Even Bowser has got a car similar to Wario's in this. The Tanuki and Cat Mario power-ups were fun to play with. I had a fun time with this game, but I'm more of a fan of the other 3D Marios than this one, but I imagine it's best to play with friends or family. Before we go to the last Mario platformer I played, I want to talk about 2023's animated Mario Bros. Movie, which is pretty amazing and a great tribute to the series. After the weird live-action movie, I wasn't sure we'll ever see a new Mario Bros. Movie in my lifetime, but with the new popularity of video game movies like Detective Pikachu and the Sonic movies, we actually got one, made by Illumination Studios and has the involvement of Nintendo themselves. I do remember how baffled we were by the casting. Nobody liked the idea of Chris Pratt as Mario, but I don't mind it so much as it does make him sound similar to when he was voiced by Lou Albano and Walker Boone. Charlie Day is great as Luigi, and of course Jack Black is awesome as Bowser, especially when he does that Peaches song. The visuals are beautiful, as it was like what a Mario game would look like on the PS5, and I enjoyed the little cameos and references, like Charles Martinet in a few roles. The pop jingles were a bit weird. I did like I Need a Hero during Mario's training montage, but Take On Me playing when 80s Kong took the gang to see Cranky was a bit unfitting, and it was very insulting that they used a DK rap but didn't credit Grant Kirkhope for it. I do say I really like the musical cues from the games, especially the ending sequence, which made me tear up a bit. Oh yeah, the expressions are also really hilarious, as well as that one Toad who thinks he's on Game of Thrones. I do agree it is very light on plot, as instead of Mario rescuing Peach, he has to rescue Luigi, which does make sense as he has more of a personal connection with him. It is a shame that we hardly see Luigi in this movie. Even though you do see Boos, we don't see Luigi meet them. Yeah, I think they made Peach too much of a badass due to studios wanting to put strong female women in their movies at that time, but I don't mind her so much, and she does have more of a personality here than in the games. I also really didn't like what they did with Cranky, making him a sassy chieftain of the Kongs wearing a silly headdress, and he's also DK's dad. He's meant to be this old curmudgeon who complains about everything like in the Donkey Kong Country cartoon. It's like if they made Grandpa Simpson the mayor of Springfield, which they probably did, as I haven't watched the cartoon in over 10 years. But yeah, I enjoyed the movie. It feels more like an ad for Mario Brothers, but it is a great experience and I hope they expand upon it. And of course they will with the upcoming Super Mario Galaxy movie. The ending stinger teased Yoshi, and as he's a major character in Galaxy 2, you know he's going to be used in that way. We see Rosalina kicking ass and she'll be played by Brie Larson. And you know that suicidal Luma will be back. Maybe Rosalina kicked him out due to spouting death and doom all the time. Bowser Jr. turns up in his Wonder form and they made him sound older. Maybe he's a teen now. Wonder if the Koopalings turn up with an airship fleet. Be awesome if it's as huge as the Final Order in Rise of Skywalker. But I really hope we get to see Wario in some capacity. If he's not voiced by Danny DeVito, we riot. Oh yeah, I love Bowser's tiny castle. You know what that means, yogurt.
Merchandising! Merchandising!
The last Mario platformer I played was Super Mario Wonder, which I picked up in late 2024. This takes the traditional 2D Mario platformer and turns it on its head. The visuals are absolutely beautiful, with Mario running and jumping like he's in a cartoon, and he looks very expressive as well. This is the first game where Mario is not voiced by Charles Martinet, and is now voiced by Kevin Afghani. He has some pretty big boots to fill, but I think he did a great job, and it sounds the same as Charles's version, so it's not that noticeable. In a way, this game is like Mario meets the Yellow Submarine movie. It's trippy, colourful, and you don't know what's going to happen next. You find Wonder Flowers, and that's when the drugs kick in. I mean, the level goes into Wonder mode. Pipes are everywhere. Koopa Troopers doing roller disco. You turn into a blob.
Or everything goes really fast.
Or really slow.
Even the power-ups are fun, like shooting bubbles, turning into a Goomba, which makes some very difficult platforming, or the best animal power-up ever, an elephant. I feel that elephants are very underrepresented in the furry and anthro community, especially in animation and video games. I even made an elephant version of myself for April Fools. Does Sonic Superstars have elephants? I don't think so. I think the final boss leaves a lot to be desired, as I was expecting something really trippy and crazy with Bowser. Him turning into a floating castle is pretty interesting. What I also really like is that this game uses online co-op, which helps you a lot in getting through tough stages. They enter your game and in turn you enter theirs. It's very useful how they can give you extra power-ups and bring you back if you die and become a ghost. I also like how we finish the stage together like a team, and they are a huge help in the scavenger hunt stages where they can leave standees or try to do visual cues to indicate where all the tokens are. I really enjoyed this game, and I like how they turn the 2D Mario platformer into a new and unique way to play and experience. So that's all the Mario platformers I played, and why Mario means so much to me, as well as why I enjoyed the games. With the release of the Switch 2, it does make me wonder what kind of new Mario games they would make for it. Will we get a Mario platformer that's bigger and as wonderful as Mario Odyssey, or as insane as Mario Wonder? I hope you enjoyed the video, and feel free to tell me your favourite memories of Mario. Do you have a favourite Mario game? Feel free to leave a like or subscribe. This is a series I might try and do where I talk about my personal history with certain games or franchises. Well, that's all for now, so take care and cheerio.